Shalom, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a live episode of Faith Walk, the intersection of life and faith. And it is July the 3rd, 2024. And it's a great day to be alive. If you woke up today, it's a great day. No matter what day it is, it's a great day because God created all things great and wonderful. We have a great show in store for you tonight. Tonight's episode is Real Talk, Married and Single Black Women. They're going to get into a discussion about single life, married life, and just sharing all about that. And anyone in the audience who may be single and who may be married and who may be Black, and even if you're not Black, but you're single and married, and you have a comment to share about single life or married life, please share your comments, your questions, your wisdom, your experience, because we're all in this together and we want to grow from one another. So again, this is Faith Walk, the intersection of life and faith. And tonight's topic is Real Talk, Married and Single Black Women. And as you can see, my co-host Sandra Lee, she's already on the screen. How are you, Sandra?
Hello, Sharon. I'm very excited about the show tonight. We got some women that's ready to talk.
I'm excited as well. I can't wait to hear what they have to say and all the gems that I know that they're going to drop. So let's get to the chat first before we do. And those of you who are already watching, you know what we do. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if that's how you're watching. Like the Facebook page if that's how you're watching. Like the video and share the video. Don't keep all this great wonderfulness to yourself. Share the video and let us hear all this great wonderful stuff as well. All right, so Honey Bunches wins the prize again. Honey Bunches is still way in the lead for the first person always logging on. Hi, Honey Bunches, love you. Danielle, hey, Danielle, haven't talked to you in a while, miss you. We got to get together soon, Danielle. Doreen, hey, Doreen, how are you? Hi, Netta, hi, Mom. Everybody's watching. Let me just highlight these a couple people right here. Thank you so much, guys, for logging on so quickly and being a part of our show this evening. Again, we're talking to married and single Black ladies having real talk. All right. And so we're going to bring up our guests right now because we just want to get right into the show because the show is only an hour. We have 4 guests and we know that these ladies have a lot to say. So let me just say this. Ladies, guests, I'm speaking to you because I know each one of you personally. We've had conversations at church. So we know, Sandra, myself, and all of you. So we know you can talk. So we are expecting a robust conversation. Okay? Don't be shy. All right. So first we're bringing up Miss Jacquie Hayes. How are you, Jacquie?
All right.
Oh, yeah, I can't hear you either. Huh?
Wow.
There.
Technical difficulties. The devil is a liar.
I know, right? Hold on.
What in the world?
Jacquie, maybe go out and re-click the link. I don't know. I'm just, super guessing over here. And because I don't see I don't even know what I'm looking for. I don't know anything about this.
Exactly.
Jacquie, can you read lips? Log off. I'm going to text you. Log off and back on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is live. So, got to do what we got to do. So now we're going to bring up Miss Janine Young. How are you, Janine?
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Good. Hey, Janine.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Jackie's going to log off and back on. Yes, Tanya. How are you, Tanya Johnson?
Hey, everybody. How are you?
Hey, Tanya.
And last but certainly not least, we have Ebony Johnson. No relation to Latanya Johnson. Am I right?
Right. Correct.
Hey, Ebony. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good to see all of you ladies. So back to the chat. Danielle says yes about her and I getting together. For real, Danielle, we do have to get together soon. And Doreen, y'all look beautiful. She says, and Aisha says, hello. Hey, Aisha, your sister beat you tonight.
Aisha.
And Doreen says, hey, y'all. Again, thank you guys for joining us this evening. We have a great show in store for you. Now we're going to try and get Jacquie back up here. She's back in the stream. Let's see what's going to happen. Can you hear us, Jacquie?
Yes.
Glory, we need you.
Oh my God. I was
like, I don't know. The devil is defeated, all right?
Yes, he is.
Oh my God.
let's jump right into our topic tonight. We're talking to Black women who are married and single, and we're having real talk. And real talk just means, there's some good, there's some bad, and there's some ugly to everything. So we're not just going to paint a glamorous picture. We're going to have real talk about married and single life with these ladies. So we're going to first start with the single ladies. Single ladies, can you tell us what some of the strengths and challenges are that you're seeing being single in 2024? Why don't, Tanya, why don't you go first? And then Ebony, you chime in after that.
Well, some of the strengths that I find in my current life, now I know who I am versus when I was dating younger and being single younger. Some of the challenges now with social media, I think sometimes you see that fairy tale part of relationships and people kind of stating that they're one thing and not really. And you kind of get that facade going, but it's hard in these dating streets.
It is.
Yes,
It's hard. It's really hard. Definitely one of the, I could definitely say, because I'm only 24, so I'm starting to fully learn and find myself. So, at the time, it's just like I had a relationship, and it was lasting for 3 years. But now that I'm single, finding myself, finding what I want to do with my life and trying to just plan it all out. As far as the cons of dating, it's stressful. It's stressful. It's not for the weak. Like there's another way to put it. It's not for the weak. It's really your life every day. You have to fight, and it's not. Sometimes it's not worth it.
okay. And I would imagine, that in 2024, this time period, is much different than, back in the day. My day would be 80s, 90s, especially with, like Tanya mentioned, with social media. Social media has changed the game.
Change the game.
Yeah. And not in a good way. Even though everything has its pros and cons, but, I do a lot of couples counseling in my practice, and social media interferes with their relationships a lot and in a very problematic way with couples. So it's something to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Can we elaborate on that a little bit? Because I thought about that earlier when we talk about thinking about social media now that we didn't have when we were younger. But is it that that the same stuff is going on, but now with social media, it's you find out things, you see people, but the same crazy stuff's been going. I mean, I know it's more, but to me, it's like people just didn't get caught doing stuff back in the day. Now there are cameras everywhere and all that good stuff. But I think people still, it's probably a little magnified a little bit, right. But I think people always been no good. No. You know what I'm saying? It's always been problems with, being single or not. I'm not even going to say problems, but issues, but now it's just now I can see what you're doing. And now, somebody's in my inbox now and all that is, so that's it.
I definitely think it's magnified. However, what I've noticed, and I watch a lot of different clips on social media, and you see the guys that are saying how they really want a wife and how serious they are, and they're really trying to find that one. But when you really meet these people, they like the idea of marriage and relationship, but not a true relationship. And I think that picture on social media is one thing that's kind of glamorizing things that we didn't see before, because I was in the 80s and dating, and to see the narrative change, the dynamics are so different. And it's like, well, what do you really want? And especially as you get older, you would think that you're getting more settled. And you see the games across the board, younger and older. And you wonder why people are single, and it's the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think social media has also too allowed people more access easily, Whereas, say, if
Absolutely.
you were going to cheat before, at least you had to go out to a club or out to a bar or out somewhere.
Yeah.
Now you can stay home and cheat.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
because you could just, inbox somebody and, everybody's got, their phone on lockdown. So,
Yeah.
their mate can't touch it without
Right.
an issue, so it's easier
Right.
access to more and access to the world.
Right.
Not even
The
just your
world.
local community,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Yeah. So
Sharon, I wanted to comment on that in reference to the social media piece. Like a person may say, I'm looking for a wife or I'm looking for a husband, and so they will present one way. But if you go back through their page, or let's go way, way back, let's say they forgot to erase 2 years ago or whatever. So you start to see this person like, wait a minute. They were saying that they didn't do this, they didn't do that, they didn't like this. But then you see all of this, because remember, once it's out there, it's out there, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing. People are presenting themselves false, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
right.
What do you call it? Catfishing, right?
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother thing. You talking to one person and then it's not even that person at all. It's somebody's grandma, So not that I'm out there, but I'm just saying, I know that social media plays a big part in it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not upfront and real about what they really want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And with this sexting, everybody use everybody lightly. Before
Right.
social media, we couldn't do the sexting thing, right? That had to be something in person, right? And young people are getting caught up in that, and there's laws about that, because when young people do it, it's child pornography, and they're not even aware of it. I have clients who are going to court for this. This is people under 18 and being charged as sex offenders because of sexting.
Wow.
Right? It's like a huge deal, and parents are more aware of it now. But this is like, and everybody's doing it again. Everybody loosely, but that's something very different with social media that we had didn't have before. So, and I'm going to share this brief experience. Last year before, someone via text introduced me to someone because they knew that I was looking for something. This is a business transaction, and so the person did a three-way text to introduce me to this male. And so because this other male may potentially have a connect with this business thing that I was going to do. And so this is just the first conversation, and the conversation with the other guy on the thread who introduced us. And so eventually, we just introductory talk. Send me a picture. I'm like, see a picture? Like, my Facebook picture is my picture. That's it. And he kept insisting. I never text him back. Like, this is what now that wasn't, again, it wasn't anything. Oh my God, he sent me a crazy picture. But this is business.
Right.
Why are you asking me to send you a picture? My picture has nothing to do with the business transaction that we might do.
Right.
So, people's minds are caught up in the wrong thing. And unfortunately, it trickles into relationships now because of how our perspective is skewed. Social media, I think, has a lot to do with it, because a lot of things we see now, we have more access now, too much access now. And, it can be harmful if you're not careful.
Can I?
Any other thoughts on that?
Can I ask a question to my single sisters on this subject, right? Because we're talking about, I guess this part of the conversation is talking about social media somewhat playing a negative part. I want to flip it though, because I want to ask you, because I would assume pre-social media, the time it took you to get to know the person to find out that they were no good, versus now being able to dig and get insight quickly. You can run background check. Like, you have access to so much that do you find that even though it could be, I guess, overkill, do you find that it's easier to weed out, that you're not wasting time getting to know people?
That sounds.
I don't know if I could say the time frame would differ either way, because to me, and now mind you, I have friends that are married, they met through social media and been with each other for years now, and everything is well. Just as we stated before, there's positive and negatives to every situation. However, when I recall, just even when I was dating back in the 80s and 90s, it was more introductions through other family members, other friends. That whole dynamic has changed because now, even if you go to an event, let's say you had a dinner party at your home, and you invited several people, single people, but that single person brings someone else to the party that they're not even necessarily dating, quote unquote, like that, but they bring someone else, so you don't even get that that time to really meet that person on that level. So I think that's different, how you meet people, how they're really vetted. Because if you know someone that knows that person, you get a little more information. And yes, you can do more background investigations, which I do recommend. When you're dating someone, definitely use your resources. But it's just challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We have a comment about social media. Honey Bunches says it seems toxic and unhealthy behaviors are celebrated on social media. Healthy relationships aren't highlighted as much.
That's true.
I would agree.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Good comment.
That's true.
Mhm.
That's
Ebony,
true.
I guess, do you have a comment about that? About the positives of social media?
The social media with that, it is a plus because personally, me, like if I get a DM, the first thing I'm looking at is your profile picture, and I can tell by your profile picture what you got going on. If I look and you doing something crazy, you holding a bottle of liquor, you got a cigarette, wow, that's it.
Right.
And it gives you time to really look into it because you get the men saying, "Oh, I don't have kids, I don't have this going on." The deeper you look, you find out the man who got 5 kids, got a wife in a different state. You like, pause. This is not what I want. So I think that's definitely a plus with social media because it just helps weed them out. You just be like, you know what? You look at the picture, you're like, no, we're not doing this today. Not today, Satan.
Right.
You gotta it's good, but then it does, like I said, it does have, it's a bad side, of course, but it definitely helps weed them out. Being a single person, it gets the job done. And background checks, I do those all the time. I highly recommend. 10 out of 10. We'll do it again.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
What about the dating apps? I hear horror stories about dating apps, but then I know people who met on them and are married and still married.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I feel like with the dating apps, it's the same thing as social media. But with dating apps, you can't really dig into so much as if I was supposed to look at your Facebook profile. Because if I look at your Facebook profile, I can see all your family members tag you in the photo. Then I can go look at grandma, see where grandma came from. On Tinder, you just get a couple of profile pictures and you get a little bio saying I'm this, school. You don't really get the full picture, and it becomes a little shady. And then with those apps, you really don't know what you're getting. Well, anywhere you don't know what you're getting, so that gets a little scary too. So it's just it's up in the air with the dating apps.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to ask the married ladies some questions. Actually, the same question. Some of the strengths and challenges of married in 2024 as compared to the younger years of being married. Jacquie, how about you go first?
Well, I would imagine the strengths would come from time spent. I mean, I think the longer you're with a person and the more you get to know each other, the better it becomes. I think life, I mean, we all, we use the phrase, we lifing. And that's really what it is. You're married, and whatever is coming at you, you're doing that together. So I think that is definitely the strength of it, of whatever you're walking out together. And remember that you're always evolving as an individual and as a couple. So I would say that's a strength.
All right.
Yeah.
Is it different
Yeah.
in 2024? Janine, is it different in 2024 than it was when you were an early married woman, Jacquie?
Well, I mean, to the point that I could say that 27 years later, we're not the same people we were in 1997.
Right.
so,
Right.
so time is it. I mean, it's life comes where and I know that we've all experienced highs and lows. We've experienced losses. Things like COVID, sick. There's so many things that have taken place that you even look at things differently. Your values begin to change. What's most important may not be that important anymore. Maybe before it was the car and you wanted the big house. Now you just want your kids to be healthy and fine.
Yeah.
Get a
Yeah.
good job or whatever those things are. It just changes. So I think no matter how I look at it, we've evolved, and so yes, it's different. It's different, but in a good way. In a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what she said. The strengths are definitely just being together, going through the thick and the thick and the thicker, and just hanging in there with one another, and just deciding to go through it together, because I always say if two people love one another, you can get through anything. And so, and it is, and that is one of the strengths. And when you talked about the challenge, is just one of the I believe the challenges are I don't know if you asked me that or if you asked that, but one of the challenges are I just think deciding to remain committed to the commitment. And because it's just so many things out there, and just so when you're going through the rough patches, deciding I'm in this for the long haul, and I'm going to, and I'm not even talking about cheating or anything. I'm talking about remaining to honor you, respect you, and love you, and still want to give you dinner when you make me mad, and all those things. Like, continue to be wife, and through all of those things. But I'm so yeah, 40 years later, we've been married 40 years.
Wow.
I love being married to my husband. I love being married to him. And but we went through humps, and we decided to make it through. And I say a lot of times that we made it through. We decided to go through what people decided to break up at.
Yes.
Because and I'm not saying adultery or anything like that, but just different things. People break up for different reasons. Like, I don't like him no more because, but we made it through those humps. There were times when we looked at each other like, I ain't feeling you right through here, but we decided, you know what, we're in this, and we're in it for the long haul. You ain't going nowhere, man. No. We decided that's something that we decided to do. We want to be together until forever.
Doreen says, no dinner tonight, sir.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
that's funny.
let me ask the question to the married ladies. What are some of the pitfalls that you want to avoid being married? What are some things you want to avoid?
You know what?
No.
Honestly, I think that this conversation could go right back to where we started with social media.
Okay.
I think that you want to avoid the pitfall, and not being overly spiritual here, but comparing yourselves to other people, you become foolish. I mean, it's scripture. It is. You want to avoid the pitfall of being so engrossed in other people's, what you think their lives are, what they expose on social media, and you have no clue.
Right.
But you'll find if you're not careful, you'll be sitting next to a good man that's doing all he can and looking at social media thinking there's someone better.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you will ruin every opportunity you have to be the best with who you're with because you're following somebody else's feed. 20-second highlight.
Yeah.
And you don't know the misery behind that story.
Yeah.
You know, so it
I agree.
you know, we talk about social media, but it's especially if for me, especially as married women, you know, I tell them all the time, listen, you don't know anybody's story from a photo.
That's
from a
right.
20-second. Don't get engrossed in stuff that you thinking somebody got it better and you resenting the person that's in the thick of it with you.
Yeah.
So that's a pitfall.
That's good.
Yeah, that is good. Very good. That's really good. Yep, I agree. I totally agree.
Any other comment with that, Janine?
No, I agree. I agree with her that, you know, we cannot compare ourselves to other, you know, marriages, and there's no duplicate, you know, there's no twin marriages. You have to do what works in your home. And one of the, just like you said, what are the pitfalls? And I do believe that is a pitfall as far as comparing yourself to someone else. And just like Jackie said, you can fool around and end up messing up a good thing when you're comparing yourself to, you know, another marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I have something that I want to share, Sandra.
Okay.
One, not being on the same spiritual path.
Okay.
I think that, like the Bible puts it, unequally yoked. I think that's a huge one. And I think communication also is a huge one when we fall down, if I can put it that way, our communication. Not that the communication had to be great to begin with, because a lot of times people don't really know how to communicate effectively, and that communication breaks down, but that's another show. But not having good communication often. So I read, and this was a few years back, that married couples talk 7 minutes a day. Married couples with children talk 7 minutes a day. And that is correct. That's awful. But we understand because life is busy and on and on. But what tends to happen, and this is just a brief here, not trying to get into a counseling. I am a therapist, but I'm not your therapist. Let me make that disclaimer. All right. So when we're dating and falling in love, as we say, you know, we're nurturing the relationship, right? And then when we get married before the children, we're still nurturing the relationship. And when the children come, the focus shifts for the women to the child or children. And then, and I'm not blaming it all on the woman, not at all. But then as years continue to go on, the couple stops nurturing one another. And now it's just nurturing the children, the family group. And so then they start to grow apart. And then when the children go off to college and on their own, they're just like, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know who you are. I don't even want to be with you anymore. But that was already growing because they lost contact with one another because they stopped nurturing the marital relationship and were nurturing the family relationship. It's so important for the two people to nurture one another through the whole entire process, first date to death. Nurture the marital relationship.
I have a question for the singles. You know, especially if you are in church, one of the things you always hear when you're single is, when you get married, when you're getting married, what are you doing? What you waiting for when you get married? So if you are single and in church, I think that it may sometime be an issue because so many people are saying, when you getting married, and marriage is not for everybody. So how do you deal with that? Either one. Ebony, you want to start off?
Oh yeah, I'll start. I mean, personally for me, because I do get that sometimes. And my number one thing is, I tell people all the time, I'm like, I'm not marrying nobody until God walk down here, look me in my face, and tell me that's my husband.
Okay.
And then it's number two, I feel like with marriage, before I get married, I want to be financially stable.
Okay.
Weddings are not cheap. They're not cheap. They're not.
Not at all.
But I don't want to. I want to be financially stable. I want to be able to have a nice wedding, honeymoon, and be able to come back from that and still have enough money to pay the bills and get through.
Right.
And there's just another thing. You ready when you're ready. It's nobody's business. Honestly, my personal opinion is it's not my business. Some people don't want to get married. That's fine. It's just but if you have that desire to get married, then it's none of your business. It's when it's your time and God's timing when the right man comes.
Okay. All right, Tanya.
Personally, I think I dealt with that when I was younger. Over the last 15 or so years, I don't think I really had that type of statement directed towards me. And I don't even know if it's just based on my personality. People know not to come with me with that. But I'm secure on who I am, though I want to be married. I'm good.
Okay. All right.
I remember those days.
Sandra,
go ahead, Jackie.
Do you think that because your question, I guess I'm thinking about years ago in the church.
Mm-hmm.
I am hoping that we have evolved and matured as sisters in Christ, that we don't do that anymore. You know what I mean?
Good.
Like that we've gotten to where we support and we rally and we cheer them on no matter what stage they're in, until
right.
I would hope that we're more there and not how it was
back in
you remember
yes.
that every wedding was, so when are you seeing it, it was really rough, and again, I'm looking at it saying now I'm at the age that they were pushing on me, that I would just never do that. So I'm hoping that we've learned by our experiences. I hope. Please.
I hope so too.
I will say this. Well, I will say that it's not like it used to be, but it's still a question that people will ask, like, hey, girl, when you getting married? Not like it was before, every single Sunday, every time you would see somebody. But I'm still saying that is a thing that when you see all the married people in church and you see singles, that is a question that comes up. So what I know is that you have to be able to say to them, well, when I'm ready, because the thing of it is, two broken pieces is not going to make a whole. And so people are so busy trying to get married, but they're broken and they haven't fixed the stuff that's wrong with them. So they're broken because they want to have this great wedding and they want to be married. I'm putting it in the air like that. So they get married just for the sake of marriage and the wedding, and they broken. I mean, broken mentally, and they get with somebody that's broken. It's just a person that may like them or whatever. And now you got two broken pieces is not making a whole just for the sake of getting married. So do I see it all the time? Are people asking all the time? I'm not saying they're asking all the time, but I know that's still something that comes up because it's just a natural question. Like, hey girl, when you get married, especially when other people are getting married around you, you see other people getting married, then it makes, I would think maybe folks that are not married, it might make them feel like, don't look at me, don't ask me. So that's why I asked that question.
Okay.
And then another question after that, after you get married, when are you having children?
Yeah.
It's like, can you just let people be? Can you let them enjoy their marriage first?
Absolutely.
Let them decide. What if one of them is infertile? It's very insensitive to ask people these questions just because of your own curiosity. We need to think before we speak, because that can do a lot of damage to people.
I'm guilty. I do that. I have to be mindful. When a person get married, I say, ooh, where you getting them babies? I'll say that I'm guilty. I've done that before, but I got to be mindful.
Sharon Montgomery says, tend to your garden and God will water mine for the saints.
Oh, wow. Give it to Sharon and give us something good.
Sharon always puts those wisdom nuggets up there.
Yes.
That was a good question, Sandra. So, Sandra, since you brought it up, and Jacquie went more toward the church. Let's talk about the church and single hood and married life. What is your church doing? We all attend the same church. What do they do for single people? What do they do for married people? And what can the church do more to help single people, to help married couples? Whoever would like to go first.
Well, I'll talk about for the single women, being a part of our Ladies in Waiting is a great tool for me, because our bishop, she makes sure that she keeps it real, of course, on the spiritual level, but acknowledging the truth of where we are and helping us navigate our current situations. That's most helpful for me.
Good. That's good.
That's excellent.
All right.
That's good.
Yeah, y'all be doing y'all thing. I be like, no, but I'm
Absolutely.
just saying, it's awesome to see it. Even as a married person, just being a member of our church, the way that Bishop cares for. I mean, she nurtures the singles in a way that is probably uncommon.
Right.
And so it, and not only that, I think the cool thing too is she pushes even us as marrieds to rally for you as well, to support you in any way we can. And so I think, again, that sense of community and being there is really, is really great. So, y'all have y'all stuff where you're like, oh, we hear y'all hollering in there. And so it's great to know that you're enjoying those sessions and they're beneficial. It's awesome.
All right.
But on the flip side of it, though, too, us as single people, I know for myself and my friends, we are praying for you all and also sowing into marriages as well. If it's a dinner, getting a couple of dinner or special gifts for you guys to enjoy, just to sow into where we're going.
And Tanya, I know you've been doing that for decades.
Absolutely.
Going in married couples. And that's wonderful.
Yes.
That is wonderful.
Excellent.
Netta has a comment. Netta says, Christian counseling is great as long as both people agree to attend. That's something that, I guess the church could recommend, or if they do it themselves. But yeah, if both would attend, great. What do you think some things are that the church could do better? The church at large could do better or more for singles and for married couples.
I feel like, coming from a single point, be honest about the whole idea of marriage. Because I see a lot of people my age are getting married and they think it's just, flowers, it's peaches and cream. In reality, it's not.
No, it's not.
I see my parents, they've been married for so long. I see them argue. It's just not peaches and cream. It's not something you walk into thinking that, oh, this is going to be lovable for the rest of my life. Like, you're going to love that person for the rest of your life if it, plans out that way. But I think we have to be more honest with our marriages. Like, not saying you have to put details out there, but this is what happens in marriage. Like, when you have kids, this is what happens between you and your husband's relationship. This is what you can do to fix it. Stuff like that. Don't just tell us, oh, we've been married 35 years. And I'm like, okay, so do y'all have any problems? Was this days y'all didn't like each other? Were y'all fighting some days? Like, what's really going on? Like I said, we don't need details, but just like, marriage is not easy. And I'm like I said, I seen my parents, my grandparents before my grandmother died. I'll be looking, I'm like, ooh, this is a lie. It's a lie.
And I think back in, growing up in the church, we always thought, we weren't told when we were younger that marriages had problems. We just saw this pretty, picture that marriage was wonderful, and and nobody fights, nobody argues, nobody has disagreements, and marriage is a bed of roses. And then you get married and you find out that that's not the truth. You know?
I think that's a huge issue with that, because like I said, I see people getting my age and getting married, and their marriages don't even make it a year. And from what I heard, first year of marriage is the hardest year of marriage.
No, the first 100 years is the hardest.
It's just really sad. You just see people get married, and then like 9 months later, oh, we got a divorce, and I'm like, y'all just started. Were y'all okay before y'all got married, or did this start after y'all get married?
Mm-hmm. Like, I really think that premarital counseling is, you know, like, people should not get married without premarital counseling. We didn't have premarital counseling back in my day. I mean, I don't know if it was there, but Derek and I did not have premarital counseling, which I'm sure we should. I was 20 years old when I got married. And so we went through a lot of different ups and downs and hills and valleys. And, you know, and like I said, we decided that we would stay together through all the things. But there were a lot of rough patches that I'm sure other couples probably said, I ain't doing this no more. See you, goodbye. You know, so I think people should be honest, and, you know, but I to me, premarital counseling is very important, very important. And I think, you know, being, you know, the counselors, the premarital counselors, just being very open and honest in that, you know, in that part of it.
Right. And not just the spiritual aspect.
Yeah.
You know, the natural aspect of it as well, both sides of the coin.
Because they say the things that are most couples have problems are financial, communication, and I don't know what it might be just those two. Financial and
communication and sex.
Sex. I don't know why they have problems with this. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a different conversation.
They have a problem with sex when they have with their money and
like, yeah, if you don't give me some money, then you ain't. No, I'm just kidding.
Y'all be robbing your husbands?
Huh?
Y'all be robbing y'all husbands?
Yes. Hello, yes. Look, this is what my husband said. This is what he says this. He's been saying since we've been married. He said, "You've been stealing from me since we've been married." I said, "Hello, if it's my money too, and we're one, I'm not stealing, honey."
That's right.
You've been stealing from me from day one. Yes, I rob him. Yes, I do. You got to get something out of the deal, Ebony.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Sharon Montgomery has a comment. And Latanya, having been a recipient, you shall reap a bountiful harvest.
Amen.
Amen.
Sowing into the marriages when you were talking about that.
Amen. I receive it.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
So anything else you ladies think the church could do better to support singles and to support married couples?
Honestly, I don't really know of anything that they could do. I guess it's based on your need. But I think some of it is just a personal place, and that you have to get together with yourself. And it's not necessarily the church's responsibility, but maybe if there's a need, they could assist.
So let me just throw this out at you. Just asking a question. Thoughts on this, yay or nay? A church decides we want to support singles and helping them to find a mate. So we're going to have a dance and we just invite single people. What do you think about that? Now, of course, I'm not saying all the particulars, you know, probably calling up other churches, tell your single men, single women to come. You're not opening it up to the world. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But what do you think if a singles hop back in the day probably would have called it?
Right.
What do you think about
that? I mean, I've been a part of several of those type of events, and honestly, it's just a bunch of women that usually come. Not a lot of males, even though different churches are invited. I've just seen more of females attending. I don't know what we could do to get the men to come. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Let's say men and women came equally.
Mhm.
Do you think it's a good idea for the church to do this, or not really?
I mean, like I'm open to it.
Yeah,
I've attended it in the past. So yeah, I'm open to it.
yeah, I don't think that would be a bad idea if men and women came out, because you can get the women out, men is the hard part. And you know, we need the men to come out so I can find a man, you know, and if they're not gonna come out, that gets a little rough.
It's pointless, right?
Right.
And you know what, Sharon, that idea, honestly, what came to mind is, at least to me, is the change that has taken place within church or church community. Like and you talked about dating, like when we were younger, you talk about the 80s, the 90s, 70s, whatever. But a lot of us met our mates or met people that we dated. We met at church. We met at youth functions. We met at conventions and conferences. Because at that point, when I was younger, my friends, my core friend group was my church. You know what I mean? We built and established relationships in our church communities.
Yeah.
Now we are in an environment where people come to church. They come for the word. They leave. They don't know nobody. They ain't trying to get to know nobody. Like, they don't rely on church community the way we grew up relying.
Very different.
They
very different.
Friendships, they're everything outside of church.
Very different.
They get what they need, and then they out.
And so even when we were younger, going to church all the time, and sometimes we wasn't going for the word. We're going to see our friends.
Exactly.
So, but we made sure we were there because that's where our friends were. Like, we're going to a 3-night revival because I'm going to see my friend for 3 nights. So, you know, our friends were there.
Wow. And so I think now the challenge, even with something like that, or calling churches together and women come out and men come, like, people don't come to church for community like they did. So I mean, it's kind of like, you know, even during the time where you had brothers at your church and you had good sister friends, you were looking out, and it was like, you know, you were going to your brother going, I have a friend I want you to meet. Oh my God, the personality. Just know the both of you, I'm telling you, love the Lord and blah. Yeah, I mean, you selling them. It's like, yes, connect, you know. But we don't have that. Like, it's almost like now.
Right. What happened? And
there's the question, Janine. It's like, what happened to that piece?
Yeah.
Because that's not there anymore. So
what happened?
So now we're pulling from our jobs. We're pulling from all these other places, trying to find good men to meet our saved sisters. It's different.
It's different. But that's what I was saying in the beginning. Before, we could rely on, like you said, that community in church and family, that you pretty much vetted that person. And you're like, oh, I can vouch for this person. This is a good sister. That's a good brother. Y'all, I think y'all will be cool. And you date and you see what's what. Now you just don't have it.
So how do we get that piece back? When we talking about when we wanted to be at church all the time as teenagers, as young 20-year-old, we wanted to be there all the time because our friends were there. We did things together. We had every time we had something, prayer meeting at so-and-so's house, all the young people were there and we were just having a ball, having fun, even though it was prayer meeting. Then after prayer meeting, we just cutting up or whatever. How do we get that piece back where our young people can collab or whatever you want to, you know what I mean? Like, just come together like that. And then maybe those things will happen. That whole
connection.
that whole connection where, you know what, Ebony, I got somebody, you know, your friends say, I got somebody that, you know, that want to meet you. And then another thing, we had churches too that fellowshipped, you know, so we were going to this church down the street and
swapping services.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I think
it was a good time. Go ahead, Abby.
I feel like with that, from a female Christian perspective, I've seen a lot of instances where these Christian females are marrying Christian men. They're getting these marriages, but their husbands don't like them at all. So as a single Christian woman, it turns us off from Christian men. Me, Liga, Brianna, we were at a church one time, and this guy got up, he started talking about his wife. Well, she wasn't my type at first, and I didn't like her, but I still married her. So in my head, that tells me she was your last resort, and you married her because she was the only other woman around. So, like I said, a lot of Christian women are marrying Christian men, but their husbands don't like them. And if I'm gonna marry somebody, I need you to like me, because if you're not going to respect me. And we're also with Christian men now, because they try to twist the word, a woman, you shouldn't talk in a man's presence and stuff like that. It turns us off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when it comes to Christian men, we take the biggest step back. I'd rather get somebody from the street and bring them into Christianity, and we just rock it out that way.
And then you hear that a lot as well. So tell me, let's talk about that. You hear that they rather have, a guy that's not in the church and, and bring them in.
Yeah, because like I said, you women are marrying Christian men that don't like them at all, that don't like them, that doesn't respect them. And it is not even me saying this. I've seen it on multiple social media videos. These husbands do not like their wives.
Are these like arranged marriages? Like, why are they marrying women? I'm not understanding.
It's just, and they don't like their wives. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, as a Christian woman, do I want to marry a Christian man and be in a marriage that a man doesn't like me? And then another issue that we're seeing, that a lot of men in the church are pedophiles. They're raping the younger girls. That's been another issue. So it's the biggest turnoff. And a lot of Christian men are, on the other side of the fence on the low, and you just the cover up.
Yeah, I heard that.
And you the cover up, and then you 5 years in a marriage and you come home, he in your stockings. Now you got to get divorced. You ready to lose your mind?
Oh no!
Why? It'll stress you out, and it's just like
it seems like Ebony, the men that you're talking about that don't like their wives, those may be the men that got married for the purpose of covering up and have the part of the wife and the husband, but they really are not interested in that particular person, not because she's not wonderful, but because she's a female, and maybe that's not what they want. So maybe that's the reason why they don't do that. But I think that, how they say good girls like bad boys. Yeah. I think one of the things that I see sometimes is that women in the church, they go outside the church to get the man that's not already churched, right? Because they've seen churched. And they just want somebody that want to know God fresh. And they don't know all of those things and the traditional things and all of those other things. So I can see a person wanting to go outside of the church, right? Now I know about the unequally yoked part before y'all come to my neck. But I'm just saying the attraction, I think, is because what you see in church of all of these things that you've already said is like, let me find somebody that may not know God for real, may not, and let my light, and if they want me, let them see the Jesus in me, and they be like, what is it about this girl? I think that has a lot to do with, because if you were brought up in church and you look around, you see how a lot of churches are with the men as with the women. You see it just kind of look like, oh boy, I think I'm gonna have to just hold out for a minute. So I think that's why more women, church women, Christian women, are going out and dating men that's not in the church. They may not have ever been to church except for Easter, Christmas, and Thanksgiving.
Mother's Day.
And like I said, a majority of the time, these Christian men are getting married, but you're really the cover up to hide what they really want to do.
Right.
And then that's where you see the nasty divorces, and it's just a mess. And it's just like,
right.
I don't want to be in it. Like, I don't want to be a cover up. Personally, me, that's not for me. Like, I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen for anybody else. I'm not saying all Christian men are like that.
Right, of course.
Right.
Of course.
You see that, and then like I said, me and my sisters were at a church, and this guy started talking about her wife. He was just like going in. Well, she wasn't my type. She's not the skin complexion that I wanted. But I
hope she wasn't there listening to all that.
Right next to him, she was there, and we were looking. We were like, this man does not like her at all. And you could tell she just looks so like she didn't want to be in that marriage, and she doesn't. I think they're still married. I'm not sure, but you can see in her face like, I made a mistake about marrying this man. And I was just like, gotta keep that in my notes, keep that in the back of my head. And like I said, not all Christian men are the same, but that has become a big issue with Christian men.
So let me ask this question. This is for the single women also. So since all of that, what you see and with all of this conversation that you're having, so then what do you do to be happy with you, to keep from being lonely? What do you do?
Now, before you answer, let me get to some of these comments because I don't want to forget them.
Okay.
Honey Bunch, this is when I was talking about having a dance with the church. She says, a single dance? Absolutely not. And then she says, dancing is too fresh. Maybe a networking luncheon. Okay, so maybe I'm dating myself with a dance. Okay, but that's a good suggestion, Honey Bunch, is a networking luncheon. And Sharon says a large part is researching the interests of 20 plus community within the church and work from there. That helps a lot. Our church has small groups or activities that are geared toward interests.
That's interesting.
That sounds good.
That's good.
Yeah,
that sounds
good. It
good.
makes sense too.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Honey
Bunches says, "Oh Lord, Ebony spilled all the beans." Ebony, that's what Sharon says, and Sharon also says, "The only cover up you want, Ebony, is at the beach."
That's right.
Absolutely.
Oh, all right, you guys, you can answer Sandra's question now.
What do you
want to
do?
repeat your question?
My question is, because of all of what you already know, you see what's out there. So what do you do, I guess, to keep from being lonely? What do you do?
I think it's really important to surround yourself with single friends who have the same mindset of you.
Okay.
And those friends that are going to keep you upholding to your standards, so that way you are not becoming desperate and making yourself available to anything that walks in through the door.
Okay.
And I think it's very important that you have good marriages around you so you can see where one day you want to be. Like, I know for me, it's my parents, my aunt, my grandparents, my grandmother was alive, especially my grandparents, because they was married for over 60 years. That's a long time.
That's a long time.
It's just keeping that stuff in mind. It's like, okay, I can do marriage. I see my parents doing it every day. Like, yeah, I know it can get hard, but I see them defeating, whatever's going on every day and still continue to love and, just their love gets stronger. So it just keeps the mindset of like, I can hold on until the right man comes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not giving myself all to some man that's just not going to treat me right. And then when the right man comes around, I have nothing left to give.
Right. Ooh, that's good. All right. Latanya?
I would agree with Ebby 100%. But for me, my life is pretty full as a whole. I have many hats that keep me preoccupied.
That's true.
And along with positive relationships and friendships. My sisterhood is very strong on all fronts. I have different types of friends. I have, and my family, the foundation of my family is very strong in marriage. My parents have been married for 59 years. Wow. And just in this past March. So I'm grateful for those healthy relationships that surround me and just knowing who I am. helps keep me grounded. And those moments that I do feel lonely, and they do come, they're few and far between. And I think too, just surrounding yourself, again, that's the major thing. I think surrounding yourself with good people that support you and that can help you just walk through certain periods of your life.
Okay. All right. I have a question for the married folks. I know we're coming to the end, and actually it's kind of at the end, but I did want to make sure to get this out because I think Janine mentioned she's been married for how many years? Did you say 40 years?
Yeah, 40 years.
40 years. And Jacquie, what did you say? How many years?
27.
Well, how you keep it happy?
So
What do you do?
congratulations.
How do you stay married that long? What do you do for fun to
Right,
keep that zest and zeal going on?
Write us something. Help us.
I start with you, Janine.
Oh, what do we do for fun? Oh my gosh. We first of all, my husband is funny and we laugh a lot. We laugh a lot. We laugh a lot. And so we are just now just recently coming into the whole empty nest. We just became empty nesters maybe like a year ago. And so this is our first time ever living together because we had, Erica before we were married. So the kids were always there. So we just became empty nesters and we are learning one another all because it got to the point, just like Sharon, you kind of lose yourself in the kids, even though the kids are older now. So Shannon was the last one home and me and her was still, two grown adults in the house. And then once she was gone, it was him and I, and it was just like, we're gonna make this thing. We almost have to learn each other again, And it was just like, it's me and you. And so we had to be intentional about, it's me and you now, and we're going to be into each other. We're going to love each other and do all those things. So we have a good time together. One of the things I always say, and I know we're going to, because I'm going to probably end with this part because I know we're getting ready to go off. And because one of the things I love to tell married people, and it's always on a light note, and to me it's funny, is that first of all, never sleep apart. No matter whatever you're going through, if you're mad, never ever sleep apart. So always sleep together. But the second part was get a full size. Don't get a bigger bed than a full size bed, and people look at me, it's like, a full size bed? Are you kidding me? We gotta have. I said, because when you have a full size bed, you are bound to touch one another, and we all know the power of touch. You can't stay mad with one another when you have a full size bed, because something is touching, and next thing you know, you all know the power of touch.
That's a good one, Janine.
That's a good one.
Look, that's how we living all these years. Two fat people in the full size bed.
I cannot.
Ooh, I ain't going back to a full size bed.
All right. What about you, Jacquie? That was good, Janine.
Oh my gosh. No, that was good, Janine. And honestly, I could say the same as far as, Stacy cracks me up. It's like we have a lot of fun. We laugh a lot, and we are not empty nesters at all. All three of our children are home. And we just got to where we used to tell them too, it's like, look, you ain't gotta leave. Y'all just gotta get old enough for us to leave. So,
yes, I get it.
They are now at the age that literally we can walk in and be like, we'll be back tomorrow.
Yes, yes, I love it.
It's like, yes. But I mean, honestly, we it's like, you just gotta be intentional, like Janine said, make the best of those moments, continue to be each other's biggest fan.
Yes.
It's like, I am his biggest fan. I
That's
don't
beautiful.
know what's happening in his life. It's like, look, I got your back.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing coming at us that we can't handle if we in it together. So I think that is like super important. And this is not related to marriage, but I do just want to say one quick thing. Sandra Lee, you mentioned the whole thing about being unequally yoked, and you was like, "Oh, don't come for me." But the reality is, so many people use that scripture and because somebody's dating or in, if this person is saved and this person isn't. But even the things that Ebony shared, you can have two people that are Christians and be unequally yoked.
That's
If
right.
you're not like
Right.
mine, like so it's not
Absolutely.
about people use that scripture
Yeah.
and end up in wrong relationships just
Right.
so they can say that they both saved.
That's true.
They ain't it.
That's
They
true.
ain't it at all. It's like, I'm listening to Ebony and to Latanya, and your friendship circles, that's equally yoked. Like that's
Right.
like-minded people that's gonna keep you where you need. So
Mhm.
that's not just we both Christians. Like
Yeah.
it's so much bigger
Right.
than
Yeah.
That's what we were taught,
That's
Yeah.
growing up.
yeah.
bigger than that. And so I'm excited, like just hearing the fact that, on all sides, you're surrounded by like-minded people that's gonna keep you in where you need to be. And
Can I say this one last thing? I promise I won't say
Absolutely.
nothing.
No, go ahead. We all right.
One last thing I wanted to say, I was thinking today, I said, my biggest asset as a wife is being a praying wife.
Okay.
And I said that to say, out of all of the things that I have done for my husband over the years, that he appreciated, I cook for him, I clean for him, I love him, I give him, maybe buy him presents, and he's always very appreciative, and he always shows me that. But one day I said to him, I said, I pray for you while you're asleep. And the way he responded to me was something I have never seen in the 40 years that we were married. Now, I always pray, but I never said it to him. And I said, I pray for you while you're asleep. And it was just like, you do? He said, oh my God, I appreciate that. And all the other things. Oh, thank you. I bought you this tie. I bought you this, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I like it, or I don't like it, or whatever it is. But that right there, and I was like, that's like the greatest thing. When you talk to God about somebody, oh yeah.
pray.
You get some points right there.
There you go.
When you talk to God about me, you can't get no better than that.
Right.
That's
right.
a fact. That's a fact. Let me read Sarah's comment that piggybacks off of that, Janine. She says, amen, because God had Eric on the fast track. He was practicing Islam when we met.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Remember Pastor saying that.
So one final question, and Janine kind of, ushered it in. Before we go, since this is faithful, we have to talk about, how does your faith, married women and single women, help you in your marriage and help you in your singlehood? Whoever would like to go first.
I'll call somebody out. All right, you start off, Ebony.
I knew it. From past relationships that I've had, like I would always, I would get to a point in a relationship and I'd be like, you know what, God, if it's not for me, just remove it. And if it is, let it stay. And they got removed. So that to me let me know, like, it's like, okay, I need to stay in touch with God. He has my back. He's going to remove whatever doesn't belong here. And that means if he removes it, something better is coming.
All right.
That's right.
Okay, beautiful.
Excellent.
All right, I'm going to jump down at the bottom. What about you, Jacquie?
Man, I think faith, our faith in God is the core. You talk about the scripture that talks about, a 3-strand cord is not easily broken.
That's it.
I think that's everything. It's me, it's Stacy, and it's God. And sometimes when we can't seem to find each other or figure out, and we're not seeing eye to eye, the best thing to know is that it's not about what I think. It's not about what he thinks. Sometimes it's solely about what God thinks. And then we have to conform.
That's right.
So that's the key, being able to have this core value and principle in God to say we will conform to what He says.
Oh wow!
Ooh.
What about you, Tanya? You next.
My faith is just like Jackie said, it's your core, and it keeps you within boundaries and your standards that I won't just deviate from. That's it. I'm holding to it. That's it.
Okay. That's
Amen.
beautiful. All right, Janine, what about you're gonna take us out with that one?
Oh, I shouldn't have been the last one. You should have let one of them be last. I can't take you out. But I totally agree. The threefold cord, that's my scripture right there. A threefold cord is not easily broken. And so I stand on that in marriage. God he's just number one. He got my back. And I, just through everything, I know that I'm his favorite. So, I do, I live my life to please him. So, if, I don't deviate. That's all I got for you. But threefold cord, ooh, I love it. It can't be broken.
Man, you ladies just did
it
great
can't be broken.
Tonight. You just did great tonight. It was so exciting. Sharon, what you want to tell us before we close out?
Well, I want to say that God will keep us through anything if we want to be kept.
That's right.
He will keep us through singlehood. He will keep us through marriage. He will keep us through life if we want to be kept.
That's right.
So we will end on that. We want to thank you, ladies, for joining us this evening. A wonderful show. Thank you for all the wisdom nuggets that you shared with us tonight. I know whoever's watching this live and on the replay are blessed, will be blessed because of what you shared tonight. So we so appreciate you. But when we go off live, don't hang up, ladies. But I want to say next Wednesday, when Sandra and I are live, Dr. Rand Walters, this is part 2 of Black Women and Their Fathers. You guys wanted him back, and so he cleared his calendar for next Wednesday rather, at 8 p.m. Black Women and Their Fathers, part 2 with Dr. Randolph Walters. If you want to watch one, just go on my Facebook or YouTube page and scroll through the videos he was on 3 weeks ago. Powerful, talking about the effect when the father is present in a woman's life, a girl's life, Black woman's life, specifically Black woman, and when he's not. You want to go back and watch that video, and part 2 is next. So we thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for all your comments and all your questions, comments, and experiences that you shared. We so appreciate you, and we appreciate you just supporting the show and engaging. Please, before you go, like the Facebook page, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything but the push of your finger on the screen, and share the video. Don't keep it all to yourself, and don't forget to like the video. It helps the algorithm for our videos to get to more eyes on social media so we can expand. So thank you for doing that right now. We appreciate you. Have a good evening. Have a God week, and we will see you next Wednesday. Shalom.
Thank you for being on.
Thank you.
We'll see you on Sunday.
Yes.
Yes.